You know, I've had a lot of comments since I've started talking about EVs, and here I am driving along in my diesel car, feeling guilty all along the way. So let me just share a couple of things and let me tell you why I need your help and kind of one of the reasons I'm making this video. So I've long been a keen supporter of EVs since I can't remember what year, but many years ago, maybe it was 2014, I want to say. One of our regular customers had traded in his Mercedes for a Model S Tesla, and I did the usual thing of asking if he could take me down the road in it. I did with a lot of customers that had nice cars, and he obliged, and I was converted immediately. I thought, this is brilliant. This is the future. Kind of long before I went on the journey of trying to go green. Now, I've been monitoring the kind of EV market for quite a long time, but a few years ago I realized there wasn't really anything that was practical for families, and you couldn't find something that was reasonably priced and had proper family space. Now, what I consider family space and what other people consider, I guess that's subjective. Now, I'm here sat in a Seat Alhambra, which is it's a big car, but it's not the least efficient car. It's pretty efficient for its size. We've averaged over 40 mpg over the last 5 years. We've had this car, proper tank-to-tank measurements, because I'm a geek like that. I've got comprehensive logs of all of the fuel and all of the mileage. But the important thing when we got this was we had 3 kids in child seats. Now, if you've ever tried to put 3 child seats next to each other in the back seat of a car, you will have quickly found that either you can't get the seat belts round the seats, or you can't close the doors on some cars because child seats are that wide. As our growing lads are getting bigger now and not necessarily needing seats, but needing more leg room, needing more headroom, being a bit broader in the shoulders, it's still an issue to find a car that has proper 3 seats in the back. As I mentioned in one of my previous videos, for many years I drove a Mercedes S-Class, massive car, long, wide, but it wasn't a 5-seater, it was a 4-seater, and it had a centre seat belt in the back, but no one would want to sit in there. And it wasn't necessarily because of the width, it was because of the shape of the rear seat. We're noticing this more and more. We've gone and sat in a few EVs, especially some that are competitively priced, some that are kind of touted as being family EVs. And it's fine if you've got 1 or 2 kids, great, but 1 or 2 kids, you could drive a Renault Zoe. I mean, 4 people, especially 2 adults, 2 kids, you fit in any car. It's not an issue. But as soon as you go to 5 people and 3 kids, whether it's booster seats, as you might be able to see behind me, or whether you've got teenagers, you need more space. And so I need some help to try and narrow down the market. I haven't got all the budget in the world. I've mentioned in a previous video that I don't like financing vehicles, depreciating assets. You know, a lot of people say that you should finance depreciating things, but I've also been lucky. I've worked in the motor trade for most of my working life and have contacts, but every time we try an EV, we just can't seem to properly fit in it. And, you know, boot space, okay, it's not really an issue. But another thing to consider, a lot of people will say that, you know, make a little bit of a sacrifice and squeeze in or whatever, but we don't generally use our vehicle for short distances. We use a vehicle if we have to go on the motorway, if we have to make longer trips. I'm not too concerned about range. I don't know why people have range anxiety. Really, my dad lives 150 miles away. As long as I can comfortably do that in one trip, it's not an issue. In the past, I have been known, both in this Seat and in my old Mercedes S-Class, to be driving 250, 300 miles without a stop. But, you know, now with kids, that's not necessarily the most convenient way to travel. So I'm not too worried about range. I am concerned about it, you know, having a budget. It's not our primary means of transport. We primarily walk, cycle. We're fortunate that we have moved to a place where we can do that. Having moved last year, my wife rides a little moped to work, a little like Vespa type moped. There's some other videos on the channel about that. And so a car isn't a necessity. It's not a top priority. When we do use it, it's typically the full family, and it's typically on longer journeys. I'm sat on the motorway now, and those are the kind of typical journeys that we do. So what are the relatively affordable EVs that a family can fit in? It's not a Tesla Model 3. You can't fit 3 kids in the back of a Model 3. What else did we look at? Hyundai Kona, both the old one and the newer shape one, even though the newer shape one is a bit bigger and a bit more generous. No chance. It's not suitable for 3 kids in the back. Nissan Leaf is a no-go. Renault Zoe's a no-go. The original Hyundai Ioniq, which I would have been very keen on, because I want also, you know, I know beggars can't be choosers, but I did want to go for an efficient EV. I didn't want to go for one that only did 2 miles per kilowatt hour. I would have much preferred to get one that does 4 or 5 miles per kilowatt hour. What other things are on the list? Jaguar I-Pace. It's only really a 4+1, you know. So you could full time 4-seater. Yes, that's a weird place to stop. Okay, they're stopping behind me. But this is a problem I'm seeing with lots of things, and I hate SUVs. They're just so terribly inefficient because of the aerodynamics, because of the wheels and tires, because of the extra mass. I mean, EVs are already heavier than they need to be, but especially when you start going to an SUV, and then you start wiping out some of the benefits of an EV, that it's environmentally friendly and that it's cheap to run. So, you know, Model X's are coming down in value now, are coming down in price, sure, but Model X, where was I? Okay, so we're kind of ruling out the SUVs. A Model Y is just outside the budget, unless we want to look at financing something. I'm not really interested in that. What else does that leave us with? The Hyundai Ioniq 5 is starting to come down. It does have a little bit more width. I think you could really use that as a usable family car in terms of the seating. The boot is disappointingly small and shallow considering the size of the car, because the Ioniq 5 once again is a big car. I'm just completely waffling on and rambling on now. What else have I missed? Kia e-Niro. Now that one's a bit touch and go. It's got decent boot space, it's got good efficiency, it's got plenty of leg and headroom, but it hasn't got the greatest width in the world. And once again, if you are regularly going to have 3 people shoulder to shoulder on the back seat, the Kia e-Niro is pretty tight. I guess this really is beggars can't be choosers, and there needs to be some sacrifices made somewhere. Maybe an older Model S. We do have a friend who's got a Model S. Maybe we should go and visit them, get our 3 kids sat in the back of their Model S. So I think from memory that was a lot more generous. That's a big wide car. It's almost the size of my old Mercedes S-Class. I know that the Model S is probably one of the it's less reliable than a Model 3 from what I understand. The chat in the motor trade seems to say that a Model S is a lot more unreliable, and for a lot of silly things, door handles, lights, all that sort of stuff. And in my budget, I would be looking at buying one outside of the manufacturer's warranty, What else can we consider? This is why I'm making the video. What am I missing? Or is it just the case that silly me, having 3 kids, should have known better? Because now your choice in family cars shrinks very, very quickly. Oh, hello. If you've been watching it this far, then let me know what your thoughts are. I'm not interested in buying or purchasing a new EV. Depreciation is exceptionally high, and any of the savings that you may have otherwise made are just going to be knocked out by the heavy depreciation. So, you know, finance is an issue. It always is an issue. I want to do the right thing for the environment and my carbon footprint. But right now, the market's not really catering for me. Is that another truck coming? All right, that's all for today. Help me out on my EV journey as I continue to do some research. It's very time consuming to go around and find a time where the whole family can be together and to go and sit in a car and test drive a car or whatever. So if you can narrow it down for me in any way, that'd be really helpful. Thanks for watching. See you next time.